Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. My name's Harrington Bodko and welcome to our program. Now, every week we have, well, let me see it, the kind of people I guessed is always usually having something to do with politics. But what exactly do you mean by politics? I'd like to look at it as, let's see, activities between people within a country, supposedly going towards one specific unified trend and or direction. I'd like to do the same thing, but this time concentrate on media, but not media as in the way we know it, just limited to the platforms, which is TV, radio, print, and billboards, etc. Now I'd like to go into the content of what goes and drives these platforms, because after all, it is the content that counts the most. Now, when you talk of content, when you talk of media, it's basically the marketing principles that go behind it. It's the learned experts who put things together, intelligent thoughts, directions, strategies that are put into place, executed specifically for a specific purpose, and that is basically to sell. In this program, we're going to discuss something different that's very relevant to all of us, although you may not be in the know, which is why we in GNN put these types of programs forward. There was a joke in the studio just a while ago, right before we entered, and it says, well, the problem of these TV shows, especially Harry, the only one who knows the script is Harry. Alam niyo po, totoo po yan. It's so true because I don't like to talk about the topic. It's a generalization of what we're going to talk about more or less, so that you watching can participate and be part of what's going on. Because after all, that is what this exercise is all about. We have two guests in the studio today. One of them who I've guested many times. Actually, both of them I've guested many times in the past, a couple of years ago. One of them, Mr. George Balagtas, who actually has a show on this program, if I'm not mistaken, that's Tuesday nights. And the show is called Life. Now, the purpose of the show, we're not going to delve in because I asked him to sit here on behalf of his expertise. That's basically marketing, advertising, crisis management, and public relations. Our other guest is the chairman of Superbrands. Superbrands is an international company in the Philippines. They are known for being the global arbiter on brands. And it's been here many, many years, and it's awarded close to 200 brands right here in the Philippines. I'm actually part of Superbrands, but being a host, I will play my role, asking the questions, deliberately moving the topic along. Our topic, we're talking marketing, advertising, public relations, and crisis management. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being on the show. We have quite a show program. Ladies and gentlemen, Carl McLean understands a bit of Tagalog. He talks more Tagalog than he looks. So even if we do a bit of Taglish, he can keep up. Marketing. Maybe we can zero in on just marketing. Basically, I look at marketing, the principle on what we call in theory in college. The identification of demand, not creating that demand. First, identifying demand, creating the product to suit that demand, very quickly only, okay? Creating the product, basically, and distributing it before you even go into actual selling. Then finally going to advertising and marketing, basically, all different platforms. And platforms are basically TV, radio, print, below the line, and of course you have billboards, etc. I'm just trying to condense it. How exactly can we summarize marketing in our areas of expertise? Go, George.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to be mean.
But you're a marketing expert. That's been your life. You put 40 years to marketing.
Harry, you just defined marketing circa 1960s. So now let me tell you what marketing is all about.
All right.
Towards the end of the 20th century, and as you know, we're living in an exponential age. So
yes.
My definition of marketing in the late 20th century is probably now very outdated, but when I graduated from marketing, which is a couple of years ago,
Yeah, sure.
after spending 40 years in the business,
Okay.
was marketing is the creation of consumers. You know, that's it. That's as simple as that. Marketing is the science or practice involved with the creation of consumers. You create demand, you create need, you create people who will need something. And
Creation
then,
or
yeah.
addressing a demand that already exists?
no. You know,
Create a demand?
See, my classic example always is my favorite product, Coca-Cola. Nobody needs that product. Nobody's gonna ever die because they don't drink that product. So what do? You create a mindset. You create a culture. You create a permission to believe that, you know, they are going to die of thirst.
Yes,
if they
yes,
never
yes,
get a Coke.
Nice example.
Within arm's reach of desire. And so on. Yeah, there's so much, you know. We try harder, we're number 2. Come to Marlboro country. Who needs any of that stuff? Nobody. But because of the talent and the magic of communications and all the imagery and the mirrors and, you know, we are able to create, you know, a need out of where there wasn't any. And we are able to create consumers out of people who didn't used to care. So I was very fascinated by that definition until I met some other, you know, people who were renegades in their own right. And they said, well, creating consumers, that's old-fashioned. And that was just right about the turn of the century. And they said, you know, marketing is really all about discovering the aha factor. The aha factor is just making people turn on their tails. You know, people are walking down the street not caring, and then suddenly you do something, say something, show something, which makes them stop and say, oh my God, you know, aha, you know, it's voila, discovery. Make them feel good, make them come rushing to you wherever you want them to go. That's marketing.
But still the creation for a demand.
Demand's got nothing to do with it. I think demand is an end result of your being able to create this aha, this great wonderful moment of discovery that says, I need it, I have to get it. And now, as we can see, you know, I was just reading an article that said, you know, in 1990 there were about 10 computers. Today there are zillions, gazillions. I mean, there are over 30 billion messages being sent around the globe every day. That's a lot of messages. That's
Something
just,
we
you know,
didn't have just 2 decades ago.
yeah, today people will die if they didn't have a cell phone. You know, today I have a computer at home. I have a computer at my little office. I have a laptop and I have an iPad, and I've got 3 cell phones. And my wife and I keep asking myself, what am I doing with all of this? And I said, well, if I didn't have all of this, what would I ever do? You know?
You agree with this, Carl?
Yes, but also I think that marketing has changed a lot, as George has said. There's the internet advertising. There's
Platforms. These are all
platforms.
basic communication platforms.
But they're actually creating new products. Facebook, there was no need for Facebook, but it came out of nowhere. And the guy's worth about 40, 60 billion US dollars today, but we are awaiting a number of lawsuits because there's a lot of invasion of privacy. So you have to be a bit careful what platforms you use. On the mobile phone, as we go for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th generation of mobile phones, there'll be advertising and all between the messages that you're sending coming up, all that's coming up in the future. So, as I would say, it's in-your-face advertising.
Is it the platform that's driving the industry? Is it the platform that created the industry? Or is it the innovation that created the platform that's now taking over the innovation?
It's the innovation with added aha, as George says, that then creates this new platform to advertise on.
I think it's also the challenge of media. I think Marshall McLuhan was a prophet. He said the medium's the message.
The medium's the message.
McLuhan
Baliktad,
said the medium is the message. Because when you have the medium, and then came the other saying, then you massage the medium. It's not the message, it's the massaging of the medium that brings out the best of whatever you can deliver. Let me tell you, I have a son who's working out of the US, and he's such a geek.
Yeah, electronic geek.
He's got this little product, you know, and I thought it was really very smart. It's called web domination.
Domination?
Yeah, web domination. He can give any company, you know, a program that will make sure that this company dominates all the web searches that are related to anywhere near the topic that his business is in. Of course, it costs an arm and a leg, you know. And then I thought he was.
I didn't even know that's possible because I know you pay for search engines.
It is.
And you stay within specific search engines. Yeah.
It is. There is a program that he has created. Then I thought he was smart. Then he comes up 3 weeks ago, all right, just almost before Christmas, and he said, "Here's a new product, Dad." I said, "What? It's you know, it's life coaching, you know, on the net. In other words, you turn into his product and become a coach friend, and you can almost pick whatever you want to be."
But in this case,
it's terrible.
But now with the iPhone, the Apple iPhone, there's all these apps coming up, and you can actually hide advertising and messages in the actual apps. There's a friend of mine that has a one you can use to take your blood pressure.
Oh yeah.
There's another product coming out now that predicts when the woman has a monthly period, and you could put all the ads on that.
So much for the RH bill then, huh?
Yeah.
Don't say bad words.
Go ahead.
Don't say bad words. This is a polite program.
I know. Go ahead.
No, but those are new mediums. I mean, can you imagine if you manufactured panty liners or whatever? It's a tremendous new medium. You get access to whoever has this app.
But in this case, it's the platform that's driving the marketing.
Correct.
The marketing, going back to marketing, in this case, it's the mutation of the product, the platform, that is opening up and new platforms are being reintroduced. But actually, when we talk about the marketing of the product, no one sat in and said, hey, okay, the basic principle, like you said, it's correct. It's archaic, but those are basic principles taught to you in school when you're in university. It's looking for a demand rather than the creation of a demand. Maybe the 20th century, you're right. The ability to create.
Don't feel bad, Harry, because I also just learned this morning that, you know, statistics show that in every college all around the world, by the time a student reaches third year college, everything he learned in first year is already obsolete.
Because of this.
It's obsolete. Okay. It's exponential. You know, the speed of the speed of knowledge acquisition. You know that in 10 years' time, the computer will be able to come up with such a store of knowledge that is almost 30 times more than what the human brain can accommodate.
So we're going to be replaced, the age of Tron.
Most likely.
But at the rate we're going.
And I'm game for that.
But the platform is what we're talking about here. The platform, the content and the intelligence behind that, the direction is still the marketing strategies that still come into play. Without marketing strategies, I mean, nothing will happen. Okay, let's stay away from the development of the new age telecommunications, because really that is going leaps and bounds and things are evolving, mutating at the rate it's going. But basically, going back to marketing, that's basically the content direction, the strategy that's put into place. Let's put, for example, politicians. How do they brand themselves, like Superbrands? You award companies, people come into our program, and they look for guidance, and basically they co-brand with an international logo. In this case, you have politicians, not necessarily just consumer brands, people who have names, who try to brand their names over years, because the intention is basically to win an election, one way or another. So, they have to market themselves. What do? Is they can't just say, okay, I'm going to go and advertise myself. I'm going to, okay, vote for me, or my name's this, and I'm good, and I'm great. Normally, that's what they do. They don't understand marketing principles and or strategies of how to market them. Now, marketing is basically not just the strategy or the objective that you set forward. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also the different platforms that you use and the limitation of funds that you can have. If it's not sustaining, it's useless. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can't just go on a burst and say, boom, I'm good today and I have one big page ad, one full page, and then tomorrow you keep quiet for one whole year. It's useless.
Obama succeeded mainly by using the internet. Never ever
knew
the new platforms. And his voters were not the black African Americans. They were actually the young Caucasians, right, from the universities. And he had this amazing campaign that went through the internet and even through SMS texting and messaging, which had never really been used before. So he had an army of people that thought this through and pushed before the others actually thought about doing it. So that was one of the biggest reasons for him having won the election.
We can call that marketing strategy, yes?
Well, it's strategy, but actually, if I may add to Carl, the secret of Obama's organization. Obama decided that he would become president from the first time he stepped out of Harvard. He knew what he was going to do to become president, and that was to organize from grassroots. Okay?
And that's what he did.
And when he started to organize, he used the medium, the platform, that would, multiply his presence exponentially.
Internet.
Yes,
At least cost. At least cost.
It didn't have a cost because he projected his goal in terms of time frames, and he knew at whatever checkpoint at the time frame where he would be at. If he was not there, he would accelerate the deliverable at that time frame. But see, what he did was he made himself so pervasive and so everywhere. He actually did not run for the presidency. He actually was already selected to be president. He overcame all the traditional politicians.
Can we say that was a marketing
From
strategy
nowhere.
from the very beginning?
It was marketing, it was communications, yes. But now, you see, what we're seeing here is the convergence of marketing and advertising and public relations, crisis management. It's now general communications management that's coming into play. That's even part of it is organization. I'm about to deliver a spiel in 3 days' time to a major politician
Yes.
who's asking me, where do I go from here?
Because that's always the case.
And my opening line to him is, politics is not a sometime strategy. Politics is not a career you get into.
No, it's a daily job. It's every day, everything.
No. Politics is a way of life.
Yes, it's a way of life.
Once you get into it, there's no getting out. Because it gets into your bloodstream. You cannot be a once upon a time politician. There's no such thing. You will always be there. So whether you like it or not, you will be part of the landscape. All right? So because of that, you might as well structure the rest of your life as, in fact, being part of the political landscape. Now, how do you do that? Do you have to be a political party? Do you have to head something? Do you have a lot of people? Do you have to have, lieutenants,
Yes to all.
etc.?
Yes to all.
Yeah, you have to be so pervasive in whatever way. Yes, but say, you can have a political life even if you are, say, a kingmaker. Even if, say, you are head honcho, top chairman of a
You need
group
not
of
be in front.
companies.
You need not have the mandate from the people.
You need not be running, barangay chairman.
Right.
Sure, you
To
can
be
do
political.
Sure, you can do that, but you can be providing a service for unemployed housewives, for example. Giving them a small scale businesses. You can provide a service for out of school youth by giving them what to do with trash newspapers. You can be so present that you are part of the life of a nation, that you are the politician. And when election time comes, then the people are going to say to you, why don't you run? Why don't you take over this position? And then what you have to say is, well,
Why
let's
not?
see, why not? And then count your organization, see if you got the organization that can deliver.
Let's end this first part because we only have about a minute before we end the first part of this episode. So marketing expertise is already the unidirection of towards where we're going, advertising and PR. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's why the title is such. It's marketing, advertising, you've got public relations, and finally crisis management. Let's leave that out. When we come back, we'll delve straight into marketing and PR, exactly who needs what or both. So either way, stay with us. We'll be right back. And more on marketing, advertising, PR, and crisis management. That was nice and quick. It's communication. You are what you watch. You are what you watch. Hello, we're back. My name is Harriton Botco. Our guest, we've got Carl McLean, Superbrands, and we've got our marketing expert, Mr. George Balagtas. Now, right when you went off, we were just finishing marketing and marketing strategies and expertise. Let's just go straight into advertising and into PR. When would one, or when should one, use advertising versus public relations? How can you define one over the other?
Wow. Public relations often is more powerful than advertising, depending on the product that you have.
Because of more content on basic literature?
Yes, in my opinion, advertising, if you have a consumer product, advertising is often better than PR. But if you're trying to sell a service, PR is often more powerful than advertising.
I find advertising very expensive, period, to sustain. Okay, George, how would you do both?
Well, you know, I had the problem with that, in fact, that definition, because once upon a time I was a director of the ad board. And then when...
Yes, that's right.
When
and you were in McCann Erickson for many, many years.
I was vice chairman of McCann Erickson.
Yes.
Then when I graduated from that life, I entered, and entered PR and became president of the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. And then one of the first things I did was to remove, you know, public relations from the ambit of advertising. Because all along, you know, PR was always treated as a poor cousin of advertising, which it should not have been.
Yes.
Because advertising was, and will always be a tool of public relations. Why is that?
Yes.
Advertising is really the science of maximizing reach at lowest cost and highest efficiency.
Yes, highest efficiency.
Now, the great mark of advertising is its paid, measured communications. Okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's communication that is measured and paid for.
Yes.
Okay, and then it delivers your message to the largest number of homogeneous markets at the lowest cost and the highest efficiency.
Cost per impression.
That's whereas public relations is a science of creating positive mutual relationships, you know, between a communicator and an audience. Okay, you can call it market, you can call it public, you can call it stakeholders, but
market is defined by the platform that you're going to utilize.
yeah, I define market as ears.
Yeah,
Okay? Eyes and ears.
Yeah, yeah.
Eyes and ears. Eyes and ears, not necessarily buyers.
Yeah, no, when you said eyes, okay.
I really don't
and
care
ears.
if they're not interested in buying my product or even voting for me. I don't care. You got eyes, you got ears, I'm talking to you.
Yes, correct.
You know, and I'm gonna get your eyes to pop. You know,
Right,
then you become mine. That's what it is. That's the game. Public relations is creating that positive relationship. It's relationship. I like you, you like me. How about let's tango together? You know what I mean? But before that, I don't know you. What am I gonna do with you? So that's what Carl.
So advertising is the ability to
That's what
introduce
Carl
you.
said. You know, that's why Carl said. You know, public relations is more effective when it comes to people, organizations, services, etc. Which is very true. But I dare say that now in this new world again,
right.
you know, advertising is starting to sort of fade in terms of its characteristics. It's in this country more especially, because in this country, excuse me, all you advertising honchos out there, I have to tell you, what happened to you guys? You don't know how to do advertising anymore. Every single ad I see looks exactly and sounds exactly the same.
They have the same endorsers anyway.
What's wrong with this industry?
Yes.
No wonder it's gone to the dogs. They're earning like 1 or 2%. But never mind. I digress.
That's because of the boutiques that they created. They created the ruin of their own industry.
It would not have become that way if it were not for the very greedy advertisers and this very mediocre and
agencies. Yes.
Our creativity has been satisfied with plagiarizing foreign advertising.
That's true.
What is this?
Yes.
We have our own culture, we have our own humor. Why are we not using that?
But also
gone are the Eminyong Ordonezes.
Yes, gone. Yeah.
The geniuses of only 10 years ago are not there. Anyway.
You know where they are? George, they're in Southeast Asia, helping Superbrands as well. But they're in Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand.
I know.
Their advertising industries there are run by Filipinos.
Dennis Garcia is in Guam.
Is he gone already?
He's creative director in Guam. And I'm telling you, it's because this market does not treat our creative talent well. We started to lose that when we started to look at nationalizing this industry.
It's called the boutiques.
I started to fight this when we have to ban all foreign creatives. Why?
Yeah.
You know,
that's crazy.
We lost all the competitiveness. I used to pride ourselves in being able to compete with the best of New York. Now we're nowhere near.
So
we're not. But that again. See, because the quality of advertising here is such that you cannot find delivery. The messages of advertising.
You're talking creatives.
Don't deliver.
Yeah.
Creatives and,
creatives.
and even media strategy, for God's
Yes,
sake.
the media
It's
strategy.
by the top two broadsheets, by the top
two
AM
TV
radio.
stations. That's it.
I mean, even a fool can do that.
Yes.
I mean, but you have to tailor your media selection to your product and to your audience. What are you talking about?
So PR over advertising. PR first. The medium is basically advertising, but PR basically is the guide and the real strategy.
Public relations is different. Public relations is creating a one-on-one relationship, a special feeling. That's what's supposed to. That's what advertising was supposed to do in the first place, but it's failed miserably.
Yes, it has.
Now, look at PR. The sadness about PR is all the. See, it's like medicine. Medicine has got great surgeons, great doctors. In
Get some
PR,
great products too.
the majority of PR are quack doctors. I mean, these are the quack doctors who never learned anything. They don't. Most of them don't even know to spell or write a straight sentence. God help us.
No wonder they write funny.
But okay. That's why most of our PR guys are called hacks. I resent that name, that shingle, because I'm not a hack. I'm a strategist. I'm a propagandist. I strategize. I think very deeply. Who is my client? What does he need? What does he want? What can I do for him? How can I position him? How can I get him into the innermost recesses of the minds of his targets?
What would be a good example of a good PR campaign that you've seen recently, George? PR
A
campaign.
good PR
A good PR campaign,
yeah.
Our president?
Our president? Our president is a confluence of accident.
Serendipity. Serendipitous action after the mother's passing.
Yeah, but
it's serendipity. That's what Pinoy is.
Yeah, but you cannot knock that. I mean, if I were in his position,
I'd do the same.
I'll take it.
Of course.
Absolutely
It's
right.
there at your disposal. Use it. But I think in fairness, that has come upon his lap, and
Take it.
I have a friend. We were talking about this the other day, and we're saying, how's the ship of state doing? And I said, I'm fairly impressed with the way the budget has been planned, blah, blah, blah. And I think this administration is the ship is starting to tilt right and go smoothly.
You sure it's not starboard?
No?
I thought it was listing.
No.
Somebody even said it's in remote control. One of the hosts right here in GNN.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Until my friend said to me,
Oh wait, hang on.
No, it's
Didn't
not.
Brillantes just get voted into it?
No, wait.
Oh no, it's listing.
No,
Go ahead,
no.
go ahead.
I thought so too, that it was listing, until my friend said, it's not the ship, it's the sea. It's calm now. Because people are now resting from all the turmoil and all the trouble and all the cheating of the last election.
Very good, nice way to put it. It's the sea.
Now the people
point.
are now waiting, okay, he's there, we got him, let's see what he can do, and maybe we can help a little bit. That's good.
That's good.
I think it's a good situation to have.
I write about that too.
Not to say that we didn't experience the worst cheating in the last election. Why do I say that? My God, our chairman just resigned in haste.
I know.
Before he gets sued to death.
Obvious ba?
Obvious.
It's called Smartmatic.
Anyway.
What a smart move.
Anyway, the best PR campaign to date that I can recall. Frankly, the last campaign we didn't see a good PR campaign really. I suppose the closest would have been Noy Noy's campaign, but it was a confluence of so many things rather than a well thought out strategy. But I'll take that too. That can be one of the. There are so many.
I'll give you a bad one.
Collaterals.
One of the worst.
What?
Well, the worst PR campaigns. The worst probably. Pilipinas kay ganda.
Oh wow!
yes.
There you
that
go.
was
See,
a bomb.
So I mentioned the top and I mentioned the worst. So there you go. Let's go move on because I
Wait,
want to
wait.
cover all four topics.
Let me just say that was not a PR campaign.
They tried.
That was an aborted international
yes.
advertising campaign that was never born.
Yeah,
They-
but
they aborted it.
I know, but no less than the ad agency itself came up and said and agreed that that was a PR campaign where they were going.
I don't.
The ad agency
That was
which
the
failed miserably.
Sorry, but I know the people there, and I say to you that ad agency was really doing what an ad agency always does: defend the client.
Yeah,
The client here was wrong.
Yes,
and
client
that
was wrong.
agency should not defend that mistake.
Don't
It
you
was
also
a
think
mistake.
that
Bad mistake.
Yeah, bad,
Stop
bad,
it. Bad mistake.
for me, a relationship is between two parties. What I don't see here often is the client actively participating with the ad agency in what they want to do. A lot of the time, it seems to be the ad agency telling the client how they think they can best manage it.
Wrong, Carl. I disagree with you.
I don't think that's
43
good.
years in advertising, I can tell you. Our clients need to grow up. To me, in this country, the big problem about advertising is we get snotty-nosed, runny-nosed juniors being appointed as brand managers. Very smart kids, no doubt. They hire an advertising agency to do their advertising, and promptly they tell their ad agency what to do.
That's what's wrong.
That's
I've
what's
seen
wrong.
Because 40 years ago, I remember when I was in McCann Erickson,
Yeah.
we told client what to do.
Exactly.
And they either toe the line or you're off you go.
Yeah, during our time,
Yes, off you
my
go.
client tells me what to do. I stand up and say, okay, be your own ad
Yeah,
agency.
go
Write
do,
your own
go
ad.
do your job.
But even in the creative side, it should be a joint effort between the company and the advertising agency
Well,
to come up with new products and
it's
new
an
ideas.
osmosis. You know, when I was working in London, we had a process called, you know, the turn-up room. I mean, we kill each other in the room. You know, we throw out ideas. We have
Yes, yes.
100 things up the wall. You know, we tear each other's hair out. The client comes in, looks at us, tries to participate, gets out of there because we're too crazy for him.
Yeah.
And then out of that comes brilliant work. The GM Safari, we launched the GM and through the entire Middle East. I was part of that planning. That thing took a week without leaving that blessed room. We were all in shambles, no bath, no brushing your teeth.
But does it happen here?
It doesn't happen here. That's what
Yes,
I'm saying, Carl.
that's the point I'm
Because
saying.
of the old colonial mentality. When the ad agency is facing the client, they're shaking in their boots. They're scared shitless that the client will not approve what they're presenting. And when the client does not approve, the client says, okay, do it this way. And they said, yes, sir.
Let's go to the fourth topic very quickly because they're all interrelated anyway. Now, when do you come in with crisis management? Now we've gone to marketing. We started that out, the archaic point of view, basically the theoretical, to the 20th century or the turn of the century. We've gone into advertising versus PR, who should do what. We've agreed that PR does drive advertising, not the other way around. It advises you which way to go. It gives you the proper direction. When does crisis management come in, and why is it such an important field? You,
wanna take
George.
the lead,
We're both looking at you because this is your specialty.
Look, let me
Carl's in branding.
Yes.
let
I'm
me tell
basically
you.
in marketing.
Let me
so-
tell you how I got into crisis. I never planned for a crisis.
I know that.
Never
I
knew
know that.
what on earth it was. I got into crisis because, number one, I just quit out of advertising. You know, as you know, I lost my son.
Yes.
When I lost my son, when I was riding high in advertising, I said, to hell with that. No more. So I went into PR. And I went into PR, I had the best client a man could ever had. First client, the Ayala Corporation. Great client, great people. And then I stumbled upon politics. And as you know, I ran the Danding campaign. It was a beautifully run campaign, if I may say so myself, but we lost. Because of other factors. Again,
Yeah, never mind. That's okay.
et
Water
cetera.
under the bridge.
And because of that, I said, something is wrong here, you know. And then I started to get into a really troubled client, you know. I don't mind saying, the Lucio Tan account.
Yes.
That was huge problems, you
Yeah.
know.
I remember.
23
I remember.
23 billion worth of tax
Yeah,
problems.
that's right.
And when I handled that, I had to relearn everything that I knew. I had to find out, how do I do this? I mean, this is one huge crisis.
Yes.
So I started working with government offices and started looking at, how do you do this? Get into the root of the problem, etc., etc. So, having known that, I said, this is exciting. This is where I want to be. There is no security in this practice. You can never say to your client, look, hire me forever and ever, give me a month-to-month job and get me for 5 years, and I'll be your crisis manager.
Is there theory?
no
Is there
such
study
thing.
in crisis management?
I have learned, Harry.
But do they teach it? There's no such thing.
There's
is it?
no
Yeah,
teaching.
that's what I
Nobody
thought.
teaches it.
It's on the fly.
There's
Yeah.
nobody teaches. I think
Yes.
one campus is trying to teach it, but they've got old women teaching it, and I don't think that's going to fly. I learned that the time to start doing crisis management or
It's
plan
before.
is at the beginning of an enterprise. Because I have learned that if anything wrong can happen, it will.
Yes.
And there is no such thing as a crisis that takes you by surprise. All crises, all responses
Are
to
developed.
crisis all responses to crisis must be planned well in advance.
And part of the whole plan, the whole strategy.
yes.
Part
there
of the
you
whole
go.
strategy.
Because Toyota, if you look at America, remember the car that went faster and faster? And had
The
their
Lexus.
problem with the Lexus problem? And that's Toyota, right? So at the end of the day, they had no campaign behind that. They had no idea what to do if anything happened to go wrong. It wasn't deliberate, as we all know, but still, they had no idea what to do.
So people who run into crisis really never had real management, crisis
No.
management. So it's really their fault
Yes.
that drove them into the specific crisis. What you're saying?
But there was never such an experience until such things as the Twin Tower problem. Not the 9/11, mind you. Remember, the 9/11, the Twin Towers, okay, of New York, was hit by a bomb before at the basement.
The blind guy.
The blind guy, yeah? Now, that was a lesson in crisis management. They were on the ground 30 minutes after, too late.
Too late.
So they created crisis management for the Twin Towers, but you see, what was unexpected? Nobody expected some idiot to ram a plane into the top 23rd of whatever floor, and go for the jugular
They
vein.
did not address issues when it was hitting them. So
But
who
anyway,
gets hit? Yes.
The other crisis which drove corporations to plan for crisis was the Tylenol cyanide lacing.
82.
That was bad.
That was Bayer.
They were not prepared
Not
for
Bayer,
it.
Johnson
From
and
then on,
Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson
Yeah.
put into their planning system
Yes.
a crisis management planning,
Yes.
and all others. Now, I know that Pfizer had one, but they've never implemented it, so they got hit with all of this plagiarism, and they're trying to struggle with
Yes,
it,
yes,
etc.,
yes,
etc. We've been talking, but they find crisis management too expensive. But you see, what is expensive? How much
Yes.
is your business worth?
Correct.
Now you've lost two of your flagship brands, to a local competitor who's copied your formulas. Why? Because
You
I
slept
don't
on the
know.
job. Simple as that. You didn't address it.
There are too many problems with that. There are international coordination problems, etc. But this is what I'm saying. We've got to start becoming smarter, than richer, or become richer and smarter. Because I find most big corporations, most successful individuals, most rich people don't care about crisis. They say, it's not going to touch me, until it hits them.
But look at the core business that you have in the Philippines, which is mining.
Yeah.
Every time a mine opens, you get the disaster about the trash at the back and the lead, the
That's
poisoning.
one area
No.
that needs crisis management
And
from
the
the
bishops.
beginning.
Right, and there are people like Dr. Gary Simpson, who I know, who you also
Yeah,
know,
yes, yes.
who specialize in doing the ecological green part of the mining. You cannot open a mine, you cannot put together a mining strategy without worrying about the back end, which is cleaning up and making sure that no damage is done to the area.
That's one
That's
area
part
that-
of crisis management too. Would you not say, George?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just let me not name the company, but I was introduced to a major mining company, and then we were talking, and I first told them, okay, this is what I do for a living. This is what I think you will be encountering. These are the crises that you will be facing. And so they took a look and said, okay, how much you going to charge us? And I said, this is my normal charge.
Yeah.
They said, boy, this is way out of the out of the roof.
Yeah,
I said,
they think it's
yes.
cheaper.
And so they come out and they say, look, we can do this ourselves. Fine, do it yourselves.
That's what happens.
Fine.
They collapse.
The added value
No,
of the
they're not yet in that, but they don't make allowances for, say, what are the bishops going to do? What are they going
Right.
to say? What are the governors going to do? What are they going to say? What is your formulation? I mean, coal is like poison to the environmentalists. What are you going to do when Greenpeace finds out?
Yes,
You know?
that's poison.
And these guys specialize in that. And they know what to do. They know what's going to happen before it actually happens. And they can sit there. And also they're a third party. They're independent. They're not part of that organization. So they're taken more seriously by other parties than, say, if you're employed by company ABC that was doing the mining.
Right.
So it's added value, considered
So-
added value.
So, Carl, we've identified who needs crisis management. Basically, everybody in almost every company. And if you don't want to afford it, and you think you can't afford it, then eventually it'll bite you some other way. It'll find its way to your butt.
Yes.
So, one question before we get into the last 5 minutes. How can you identify good crisis managers, good PR management, versus those who are bogus? Because there are a dime a dozen. There are as many as realtors.
I
Everybody.
beg your pardon.
No, right now, there are so many people who go around to say that they're PR. Basically, all
PR, yes.
No, advertising agencies say that they're also PR managers. They don't have a clue of what it is.
Nonsense. They don't
I know,
do
but
this.
many of them do. They say
No,
that.
but your question was crisis management.
No, on crisis management. Now, assuming not only just, don't limit it to just crisis management, PR, and of course, proper advertising and proper marketing strategists. How do you identify real ones, good ones, versus the bogus?
Number one, I think they've got to be really sober. Number two, which is an antithesis of sober, which is they've got to be very creative and have foresight. They have to be able to look at all the different scenarios.
But how does a
way into the
CEO
future.
manager who's going to say, hey, I'm willing to spend $1 million, $2 million, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
how can he identify? Because he doesn't know. It's like a guy who says, I think that's great food. How do you know? Have you tasted all the good food in the world? I mean, you know, people say, this is good food. How do you know? Are you a gourmet? And those who say, I'm a gourmet, how do you know? Do you eat, baka you only eat Filipino and Asian food, you don't eat European food.
Simple. Sit down, talk to the guy, ask him what he would do in certain problem situations, and the more out of the book, the more off the wall he is, and the more outrageous his ideas.
Reputation, does that count?
Oh yes.
Of course. How many,
Branding, does it count?
Yes.
Branding.
Branding,
yes,
it counts?
yes, branding, very difficult. Is a word that everybody's kicking around all the time. Not a very easy task. A lot of people say, "Oh, branding is the key. Branding is key." Look what happened to our tourism project.
No, no. When I say branding, branding is to identifying the services. Branding a service that can be branded. That say, hey, these guys are good. McCann Erickson, a brand, good advertising.
Well, McCann Erickson is it's an excellent international full-service advertising agency.
It's branded as such.
Okay.
Coca-Cola, same way.
But don't tell me that they're also a number one excellent full-service PR agency, crisis manager. No way.
But public relations and
point.
crisis management can go together if it's done correctly.
If done properly.
If you target a particular market segment and you've done your homework and you know the whole potential of that particular environment or that company, like mining. If you say, what have other mines done? Where have other mines gone wrong? What could have happened? What could have been done to prevent these things from happening? What can we do as part of a new mining company coming in here to make sure this doesn't happen? And I'm going to help you do that. And that's PR and crisis management rolled into one, in my opinion.
Gentlemen, every time we talk, even if we talk in the bars in Makati or in Quezon City as we get along, 1, 2, 3 hours is just not enough, and especially not 50 minutes as we get together here. What did we learn very quickly? Marketing, expertise, advertising. Well, it's under PR and crisis management. I like to think of the last topic that we were talking about, the ability to identify a service, a proper service, has a lot to do with the branding, the reputation of the people behind it. The ability to create, the ability to present, the ability to convey, the ability to actually communicate to those that require it. I guess that's where it begins and ends.
Yes.
So, gentlemen, before we end, a minute, 2 minutes, exit message to our viewers. You need not talk and touch on the subject. You can just greet our viewers for whatever it is. George, let's start with you. George Balagtas, this camera.
Well, since we're on the topic of communication, I love the communication business because it's the only practice or career that allows me to fly, and I myself, I think of myself as an eagle. I like to spread my wings and fly way, way above. I soar above the clouds. I go where no one else dares to go. That's because of my own spirit. I dare where others fear to tread. It's not a brag or anything. My life, my track record proves that this is what I do. This is who I am. I've been there. I've done that. I've been at the very top, and I've been to the very low, and I've chosen my lifestyle, and I dare to live on the edge. And I'd like to talk to the young people out there watching this and saying, listen, if you dare, I know you will win. Thank you.
Carl McLean, Superbrands.
I'm going to follow up on George because I would say dare to be different.
Yes.
Like if there's 1,000 fish in the sea or in the river, let's say, which fish would you like to be? For me, I always say it's the salmon. Why? It's the only fish that swims upstream. It's the strongest fish in the river. All the other fish swim downstream and get eaten by all types of other animals. So you have to be different. When you advertise, don't be the 17th person to use one particular endorser. Be different. Have a completely different campaign. Put together advertising and PR campaign and cover all the potential crisis areas that may happen. And be totally different and think out of the box and make sure that you brand whatever you have as something completely different that people want to buy by having done your market research, following up, covering every single angle, and you will be number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our product. Right here in GNN, we bring you a different kind of product. We can bring you a different type of broadcast programming. Here, we talk to you straight out because we want to share with you the ideas that are brought out by the different guests, the resource people that we bring into the industry, that we bring in front of you. Simply because it is our role to educate, not necessarily just to entertain. Now, that's our role. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Maraming salamat po. My name's Harry Tambuatco. You've been watching Talk to Harry. Thank you very much, George.
All right.
We just have to sit here for a while because they'll...
Why?
The credit... You are what you watch.